Michael?
The one and only, Maria.
Actually, that's my mom's name. I just use it for the internet, anonymity. My real name's Doris.
Margarita for the lady. I took the liberty. I hope you don't mind.
Actually, I much prefer Chardonnay.
Oh, okay. You look tanner in your photos.
Oh, that's because I had just gotten back from vacation, if you can call visiting your parents a vacation.
Let me guess. Brazil, Venezuela, Mexico.
Martha's Vineyard. My father's a fiend for sailing.
I'm sorry. It's kind of false advertising, isn't it? No offense, you just don't even look.
What? Latina? I don't even look Latina for you, huh? What do you want me to do? You want me to roll my head around like this, huh? Will that make me look Latina for you? Or perhaps you want me to come to your house for you and clean for you with my cousins Carmencita and Juanita. Or maybe you want me to dance for you a tango, eh? You want me to dance for you a tango? And then I can beg you to marry me for my green card because I want to live in America. I want to live in America. Maybe you want me to bring my chihuahua up here, huh? And then we can both beg you for Taco Bell. Will that help me to look Latina, huh? Will that make me look it?
I was actually going to say you don't even look 40.
Oh.
Welcome to Entre Nosotros on CCP TV, the educational channel of Community College Philadelphia. I'm your host, Gilberto Gonzalez. My guest today is Angel Cruz, State Representative. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me to this.
Great. Let's start with when you were born. Let's start where you were born. How did you get to Philadelphia? Where did your parents come from?
My mother and my father is from Puerto Rico. My father from Utuado, my mother from Isabela. And when they got here to the United States, we moved every Puerto Rican. When they came back in the 60s and the 50s, they moved to the Fairmount section, 17th and Mount Vernon, Spring Garden, and Green Street. My parents moved to 17th and Mount Vernon. That's where they met. They got married at La Milagrosa on 19th and Spring Garden. We're the first of our families to be born here in the United States.
Wow.
So I am a resident born in 17th Mount Vernon and then 22nd in Green. Before coming down to where we live at here in North Philadelphia.
So, like from Green Street, you went up to
Nathan Butler.
Nathan Butler.
And then Nathan Butler, I got married and then went over to where I'm at presently for 26 years on Tioga Street.
Wow, 26. Wow, so you're a Philadelphian.
I'm a Philadelphian.
I mean, I think that's one thing that Philadelphia, I think, finally has to realize is that we've been here.
Mm-hmm.
We're a part of this city, and we're part of the fabric of this city.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have contributed to this country, to Philadelphia, to make it what it is. And no one ever would guess that that this movement of what the founding fathers permitted us to have right here in our hometown of Philadelphia. Philadelphia is known as the city of brotherly love because you have every kind of nationality here, and we're part of this process.
Exactly, we're part of the. And I think it's time that Philadelphia and these institutions like community college say, hey, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
It's time. So now you're up in North Philadelphia. What was your first recollection or your first interaction as an activist? I mean, like, what made you want to become involved in the community?
I'm the only one in my family. My brothers are all cops. I was the only one that, you know, I was in the movement. I wanted to do different things. I became a block captain. I became a committee person.
What does it
A
like
block captain is
and-
just getting involved in my neighborhood, cleaning up, removing graffiti, cleaning out the abandoned lots, cleaning out the alleys, giving back to the community. You know, it's a thankless job because some people just don't really care or whatever. But
you don't get paid for that.
no. But you know what? I won because I lived there, and I wanted my neighborhood to look better than what it was. So I got involved, became block captain. I became a committee person, very much so involved in my community.
Mm-hmm.
And when I became politically involved as a committeeman, the ward leader at the time was a council person, and she told me, you gotta, in order to be successful, you gotta know your people better than anybody else. So I had to learn, and from my corner today, I can stand in my corner and tell you who lives where, who's married, who's not married, how many kids, if they work or don't work, because you get to interact with the community in a personal level. Okay, that's where your activism comes in. And you know, sometimes when I go to my grocery store, I have to drive because it'll become a 2-hour adventure.
Oh, my
Because
God.
in my way down, everybody wants to talk and everybody wants to sit and whatever, and that's key. People just wants to be heard. Some people have questions. Some people just, you know, have no one else to talk to, and that is key. That when you have a conversation with people, you get to know what people are all about, and that's one of my strengths. Not that I listen to everybody, not that I call everybody back, not because I have 62,000 people in my district, but I take time sometimes and I call people back. I sit in my office. I do service with the people. I interact with people. That's your strength. Being one-on-one contact with people at all times.
Now you're active in your community. You're block captain, committeeman. What inspired you to say, I want to run for office? So who said you should run for office?
I was never in my wildest dream think that I'll be sitting here having a political position. It wasn't for me. I just became a block captain. I didn't have that expectation that says I can never be an elected official. Rafa Costa was my number one mentor. He was the former state representative, and he got me involved. He saw the activism that I did. He got me involved and took me here, took me in a couple of his adventures. When I remember back when Wilson Good was the mayor of Philadelphia, we had a strike over the trash pickup. Remember when Rafa Costa rented vehicles and picked up all his trash in his district and dumped it in City Hall?
Oh my God!
And I said, you know what? Wow, this guy's crazy. I want to be like this guy. This person is what this neighborhood needs.
Mm-hmm.
Rafa Costa is a legend in the Latino community because Rafa Costa not only was a state representative, Rafa Costa opened the path and the way for other Latinos to be whom they are today.
Wow. Yeah, I remember him a long time ago in the Spring Garden section. I know he didn't represent that part of the city, but I think he felt that he had to represent every Latino in every enclave in the city.
He was, and I am still the only Latino state representative more than 30 years.
Wow.
After 30 years, you would think that we would have more Latino elected officials. We do not.
Wow.
I'm the longest and the highest elected in the state of Pennsylvania.
Wow. So I do remember him. PHA was closing houses back then, and I remember him opening them back up and putting people in there. And then, you know, it was police came, sheriffs came, and it was just a huge mess. But he brought attention to the fact that, you know, PHA is pushing people out of these units when they're still livable.
Well, listen, if you go around the neighborhood, poor neighborhoods, you have all these houses with beautiful fronts, brand new brick fronts. But PHA has not done their job because they get monies, federal monies, whether the property's vacant or occupied. So they really don't care if it's vacant or occupied. Rafa Costa will rip the paneling off, go find a window somewhere, whether it fit or not, and says, "This is your new home."
Wow.
Okay? With all the people that we had that were homeless, and we had properties that belonged to the federal government that were just sitting there, under his watch, he tried to make sure that he had the less homeless people in his district because he opened them up.
Wow.
Okay?
That's amazing.
At that time, people said that he was crazy. He was a person with compassion that took care of his district. You were homeless? Not anymore. Here you go. The trash is not being picked up? Not anymore. I remember one time they refused to remove abandoned cars. Rafa Costa will flip them over upside down in the middle of the highway and in order for them to come and remove them.
Oh my God.
He was a rebel in his own era, but he was very well respected because he fought the fight that people put him in office to do.
Wow. So, wow, that Acosta was an amazing guy. So, so now he's your mentor. Who else like inspired you? Like your father, your mother? Who else inspired you?
My mom was the mom and dad. She was the mother and the father.
Wow.
My father had 2 jobs to raise all 5 of us. So mom, was the mentor, and she ran the household.
Wow.
And she was the one with the chancleta on the belt too. Don't get that wrong. She was the disciplinarian at home too.
Yeah.
My father, all he did was just look at you and you froze. Well, mom did the beatings.
Wow.
But you know what? There's nothing wrong with a spanking. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I grew up with it.
It is what it is. You're the parent. You raise your kids. But look, we all turned out pretty good. A couple of us are cops, and I'm a legislator. We turned out pretty good, and we come from one of the roughest neighborhoods in Philadelphia because in 7th and 8th and Butler, it's where they grew the drugs. They
Wow.
did everything openly in the 70s and in the 80s.
Wow.
Living in 8th and Butler and 9th and Butler, very, very difficult.
Is that part of what said, hey, I got to do something here?
Well, listen, watching my mom would stand in the corner and wait for her kids and whatever. Says, "Mom, you don't have to stand here." And he goes, "It's not you that I'm worried about. It's making sure that nobody comes near you guys."
Exactly.
And whatever. So my mom was always on watch. And it's not the neighborhood you come from, because I came from the roughest neighborhood in Philadelphia. It's your upbringing. It's how your parents bring you up. It's the guidance. It's the pushing of your parents.
Wow.
It's sad to say that in this era, in this time, we have single parents. And it's a burden because you have to provide for your family, you have to feed your family, you have to take it to the household. Some parents have to work 2 jobs in order to put food on the table. So you cannot give your child all the attention that they need. So that's one of our problems. We need more mentoring organizations. We have PAL, we have Espera, we have several, but we need more. We need more to keep our kids away from the streets.
Definitely.
So
now you have your mom,
mhm.
your father, Acosta, and what made you run for office? What was that first time you ran? What was that like?
To tell you the truth, that when that moment came, I never saw myself in this position. I says, me a politician, that's never going to happen. A kid from North Philly is not going to be a state representative, and here I am.
Wow.
Here I am. When I first ran, it was scary. It was a poor election. It was not one with those fancy posters, lit information. Everybody was in the paper. My posters were Xerox copies.
Oh my God.
Okay, but I had so many of them because it was the cheapest. It was all I knew, and I did door to door, and I did a movement, and people just wanted to change. People wanted to be heard, and here I am today.
And who did you run against?
Well, the very first Latino legislator that we ever had was El Manquiles.
Mm-hmm.
Then Rafa Costa replaced him, and Rafa did 10 years. Ben Ramos ran against Ralph Acosta and defeated Ralph, and he did 3 terms. I ran against Ben Ramos, and I am the present legislator. I just won this year my 8th term, and I'll be in office for 16 years. I have made history in Pennsylvania because I am the highest and the longest Latino elected ever in Pennsylvania.
You are a historical figure, not just for Latinos, but in the state, just for everyone. I mean, it's just an amazing accomplishment.
Yeah, one of the number one things that is really, really important is keeping in touch with your community. If you have your community with you, you have nothing to worry about. If you do not have your community, it's because you haven't done a job, you haven't listened to your folks, and that's why people get defeated.
Wow. What was like that first time again when you ran? Like, was there something that really scared you, something that really just impacted you, or something that said, wow, this is...
All of it was impacting, but you walk into the Capitol and you're lost.
Really? What was that first day like?
Listen, today I know every inch of the place, but when you walk in, the ceiling's untouchable. You feel like the land of Oz.
Wow.
Okay, and if I felt that way, how many other kids in North Philadelphia feel that way that never even know what the Capitol even looks like? Wow. We have to have more participation with the community. We have to educate our folks in what are the services that a council person, a state representative, a senator, and a congressman do. People are confused. Education is the key.
I remember when I was young, we did learn about politics. We learned there was legislature, judicial, all that. I don't remember it all, but I remember there was some. They would teach us about the structure of politics. What a bill is. Do they teach that in schools today?
No. And in fact, I think that we, as elected officials, should combine with the high schools and universities to have political forums and teaching our youth the importance of voting, participating in the electoral process.
Mm-hmm. That should definitely. I think that should probably be a class.
It should be. It should be part of your history class. Mm-hmm. It should be about your political science.
Starting in high school.
High school and universities.
Yes.
These are the young folks that are at age to vote and participate, but how will they know if we're not educating them that?
Right.
So more political involvement and entrepreneuring for our folks is the key.
So now you're in office, right? And like, what is it? What are the things that people say, Angel Cruz, this is what I need?
Housing, jobs, education, and safer streets.
It's that simple.
That's simple.
Wow.
But
and it's basic. It is basic.
It is basic, but our problem is that we have a lot of leaders that have a hidden agenda, that don't know how to unite, that don't know how to work with one another. And who loses? Our community. Okay? We as leaders have to appoint and identify more block captains to keep our cleaner street. When your neighborhood is destroyed and it looks like trash, people come in to sell trash because they know that no one cares.
Right.
Let's get involved. Let's clean up. Let's paint. Let's get involved. But don't let just the politicians dictate that. Let the parents and the people get involved and participate. When you're united, you're indestructible. Well,
one thing is, and I firmly believe this, is that when people say, I'm a leader here, I'm a leader, I think that leaders are elected. Mm-hmm. And so for me, you're one of our leaders because you're elected by the people. Mm-hmm. Like I don't think, like someone who, I think there's a difference between you and someone like Nelson Diaz, who is a great person, but he's not elected by the people.
Well, he is elected.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, because a judge
you
get elected by people.
Right.
There's different branches of being an elected official. Mine as an elected official, I'm a grassroots elected official because I'm with the community. I'm out there trying to get myself elected. I'm working it. You become a judge. You don't have to worry about it getting reelected. And for your retention judge, 10 years, every 6 years, or every 10 years.
But he's not a judge anymore, right?
He's no longer a judge. But
Right, so
but,
that's
but
fine.
he didn't go out to work and get elected like I did, like Rafael Acosta did, like
Right.
many others.
There's a difference.
It's a difference. He went into the party got them all together, and they got him elected.
Right.
But he didn't do a grassroots operation of door-to-door petitions and all that.
Right.
So there are different branches. Depending what branch are you running for, what position you're running for, is how involved you get as to be an elected official.
Wow. So, here you are. People are telling you like these are the basic things that we need, and you go to Harrisburg and you're fighting for these basic things. What are some of the things you confront as being the only Latino legislator? And also, like, do you find that there's racism?
If I find there's racism every single day in every capacity. One of the things that we fight, I'm fighting for, is that they're trying to make everything English only. Now, English is the language of opportunity. But when you come here to the United States, everything's already in English. Why do you have to make anything official? So when I see things like that, and I bring it to their attention as the only Hispanic elected official, and I says, listen, the federal monies that we're going to lose because, if you're bringing people that are coming here, no matter what their status is, if we put obstacles in their way, how will they be part of society if we're making it difficult for them? Give them the opportunity to become part. Now, if they are given the opportunity and they don't utilize it, it's their loss. But we, as elected officials, as Americans, should not put obstacles in anyone's way to become part of the process.
Including immigrants, because we're an immigrant
Absolutely.
country.
And everybody that comes to this country is an immigrant in one way or another. Okay? If you knew how it felt to have obstacles in your way to become citizen, why would you do the same for someone else? So there is racism in all forms and shapes here in Pennsylvania.
Now, how not in recent years the Latino population has increased. I think it's one of the fastest growing communities in the city of Philadelphia and the state. Like, what do you see that giving us more leverage?
No.
No.
Even though we're the number one growing, we just got over doing the redistrictings, and the redistricting is done every 10 years when we do the census according to your population. And when we drew the lines, we walked away with 6 Latino lines, Latino districts that are not being utilized for Latinos. It was created because it was overwhelmingly Latino that today Latinos do not represent. We created the lines, they're there. And like I said, the number one problem that we have as Latinos is that if one Latino runs for a position, 100 people want to run. When there's no one running for that position, of Latino descent, no one runs.
Oh my God.
So we're our worst critic and our worst enemy when it comes to political empowerment.
And that really hurts us in Harrisburg.
Absolutely.
Because you're the only one there.
I'm the only one fighting for everything. I don't only fight for Latino issues in the 1A legislative. I do it for the state of Pennsylvania.
Oh my God.
I need help.
To say the least.
I need help. We need more representation.
Wow. Wow.
But it is our responsibility to make that happen.
Right.
And how do we make that happen? Educating our folks, making our folks accountable, and getting them involved politically.
Wow. So the future of any community like ours, Latinos communities, is in education.
Education is the key. Educating people and knowing what your elected officials' responsibilities are, educating our folks and giving them the tools they need so they can help and educate their families. Education is the number one. It's the key.
I have one last question. Is it still, because I heard this actually from the old school district, Superintendent Ackerman. At a speech, she said that the state of Pennsylvania determines how many prison cells to build on the literacy rate of a third grader. Is that still?
Yes. But then again, we go backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Ackerman was one of the problems that we had to close 29 schools
Oh my God, 29 schools in North Philadelphia?
throughout
Throughout
the
the
city of Philadelphia.
Wow.
And the number one problem is lack of funding. There shouldn't have been a lack of funding because there was millions of dollars that came in with the casinos. There was millions of dollars that were put in from the red light from the parking authority. The money was supposed to be put in the education fund, but the mayor in the city of Philadelphia put it in the general fund, where he did wherever he wanted to do with it with no accountability except the education fund where we need it. Wow. So he took the gambling monies for the education of our kids and gambled with their education and their life and did whatever he cared to do with it.
Well, with you in office, and hopefully we'll have other Latinos in office soon. I mean, hopefully we can change that and really educate our children and focus on our children.
Educate our folks and making sure that if we have one Latino candidate, it's one Latino candidate, not 100 for the same position. There's others seats in other positions that we can support one another. Let's get more Latino elected officials throughout the city and throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Great. Thank you. Well, that's all the time we have today. I want to thank my guest, Angel Cruz, State Representative, for joining us today. And I would like to thank you, the viewers, for tuning in. You have been watching Entre Nosotros on CCP TV, the educational channel of Community College Philadelphia. See you next time.